This is Frederick Meekins of the American Worldview Alert. In one of the climactic scenes of the conclusion of Battlestar Galactica, Gaius Baltar remarks that an unseen hand has been guiding events all along up until that point. Just as the characters were propelled by something from beyond themselves, the producers behind this show may have been driven by ideas originating from sources other than their own fertile imaginations. Even in the original Battlestar Galactica from the 1970s, one of the underlying premises of the saga was that life here began out there with the forefathers of the Egyptians, the Toltecs, and the Mayans. There are some who say there may yet be brothers of man who fight somewhere to survive among the heavens. End quote. In the series finale of the contemporary retelling of the sci-fi classic, viewers got to see a bit of how this vision might have played out. Though most can watch these compelling dramas unaware of the underlying worldviews of the authors, there is indeed a philosophy being presented that, if nothing else, impacts the author's approach to the material at hand. In the original, with the narration provided by Patrick Macnee, who went on to play a devil-like figure in that version's mildly Mormon-esque mythos, one assumes that when mankind arrived here on Earth, there was no other intelligent life. However, in the recently concluded version, we realize that it is prehistoric Earth, not even the actual Earth in the reimagining, and if you add a third, you'll have to have a crossover show with the Thundercats, that the Galactica fleet has arrived at. To the casual viewer, either version does not seem all that different. It may come as a surprise, therefore, that each depiction presents a slightly different viewpoint as to how civilization originated here on Earth. In the original Battlestar Galactica, with Earth being the home of the Lost 13 tribe of man, it could be said that human life here is the result of an anthropocentric panspermia, meaning we came here from elsewhere and are not native to this planet. This has a number of implications, especially for those embracing the perspective of deep ecology. Going beyond a traditional environmentalist standpoint, deep ecology holds that mankind is an invasive species infesting the planet. As such, ripping it out through any means necessary, including mass death, is perfectly acceptable. Prince Philip, whose primary accomplishment has been marrying someone else who never had to work a day in her life, basically wishes he could be reincarnated as a killer virus to wipe your family out because his own was a total drain on world resources. The view taken by the new Galactica is much more complex and seems to ape, or at least hominid, so many other science fiction narratives these days that if one was a conspiracy theorist, one might easily conclude that some kind of interplanetary cataclysm was trying to be conveyed to the masses. Once the Galactica fleet arrives, one sees a crouching survey team consisting of the show's primary characters, such as Admiral Adama and Dr. Baltar. These two proceed to banter back and forth about the odds of human life originating at two distinct places in the universe, with Baltar remarking how the humans of the 12 colonies were genetically compatible with those there on this planet that would come to be known as Earth. It was also noted how these humanoids had not yet developed language and how the new arrivals could bestow this rudiment of civilization upon their less developed counterparts. Thus, in this version of Battlestar Galactica, the scenario presented is closer to that of the Chariot of the Gods hypothesis. According to this theory, culture and technology were not developed over time by Earth's native inhabitants, but rather something bestowed upon us by an advanced civilization from beyond the heavens. Even more interesting, in the final scene of the series, the bottom of the screen flashes 150,000 years in the future. When we then see the angelic versions of Six and Baltar reading a National Geographic article over the shoulder of producer Brian Moore about mitochondrial Eve, the earliest known ancestor for whom all human beings can trace our ancestry. Discussing the article between themselves, Baltar and Six reveal that the human race walking this earth today is actually a hybrid one, the result of interbreeding between humans and genetically engineered Cylon synthoids. A number in the viewing audience will conclude what an imaginative way to resolve the destructive human-Cylon conflict, with both sides getting what they want as prophesied, with each of these civilizations being saved or continued through the hybrid child Hera. However, those more attuned to these messages will notice that this theme of human extraterrestrial amalgamation has shown up in so many examples of speculative fiction these past few years that one could almost say it was a cliché if it did not serve some higher propaganda purpose. This is Frederick Meekins.